AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Lacretia's in the studio.
I made it.
Fresh off the LA freeway, made it just in the nick of time. How was the traffic?
For LA, it was a smooth medium, but it was just really bad. And when you're stuck on the lovely, I guess mountains we have, and you can't go anywhere, there's just no choice.
It's frustrating,
Yeah.
especially when you want to get to the AfterBuzz TV studio and talk about Castle. Welcome, you guys. I'm JJ Snyder, the host of the Castle After Show. We're here today to celebrate Castle and talk about Season 8, Episode 10 and 11, doubleheader.
Oh, yeah, and it was a great doubleheader.
It was, right?
Yeah.
2 fun episodes. We're going to start off with Episode 10, Witness for the Prosecution.
AKA Time Back in Landview.
Castle was under fire in this episode.
Yeah. Well, it was really interesting to see him in that because, I hadn't realized that he'd never testified before. And so, and I thought back, I'm like, we've never seen him in the courtroom scenes. We don't see a lot of that on Castle, which with other procedurals, you'll see a lot of those.
Yeah.
So, that was kind of an interesting twist. And of course, the big One Life to Live reunion that was 3 guest stars.
Yeah, so you had mentioned that last week. As you guys know, Lacretia's a big soap fan. And so who were those characters?
Of course, Sadie, who was the victim, was Darlene Vogel, who was Dr. Melanie, Farrell McIver. She was Lindsay, who was a bigger character's sister that was also married to the lovely Ty Treadway, one of his twins, not the evil one.
Okay, so our Vic, as they say, our victim in this episode, Sadie, who was this war reporter. That was kind of an interesting storyline.
Yeah, I really thought that was
she was a soap actor. Who else?
Of course, was it Joanna and Roger? The couple is Tuck Watkins and Cassie
the couple that party was thrown at.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I loved how they made her character this fan of Castle's. She was like a real smart actress. I liked her.
Yeah, Cassie Paiva is amazing because she also did Evil Dead 2, which I'm a big, Evil Dead fan. But yeah, her and Nathan Fillion are really good friends in real life ever since they did One Life to Live. So I was actually surprised it took her this long to get on there.
That kind of makes sense because that they're friends because they made her character really like him.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those comic characters. They could have just played it straight, but they kind of gave the actress like something to play with, right?
Yeah, and it was really, there were several little points in it that, of course, as a watcher, especially back in his day, there were little jokes that I got along the way that I love to, kind of share when we get to them.
Oh, you'll have to point them out. Okay, cool. Well, as always, we opened with the crime. And Castle is at this party, a lovely party in a beautiful home. And he is there as a guest. I guess he's like a guest author coming to speak, and which is all very cute, right?
I know. And what did Roger, her husband, say? She spent so much money on that.
Yeah, I think they mentioned later in the episode it was $15,000 to have him there. That was like his fee to be there. Yeah, I totally caught that. And it was funny because he said it in front of Beckett, and Beckett didn't flinch. I almost thought she would say something like react to that, like 15 grand or something. I wonder if anyone else noticed that moment.
Yeah, I was surprised that there wasn't like a line from Beckett about, making fun of that's too much or, he's priceless, just something.
Yeah, there wasn't. It was totally straight. Okay, so they're this lovely suburban couple, is big fans of Richard Castle. So he tries to use the bathroom. He goes to walk upstairs in the home, up this big staircase, turns the corner, and bam, there is our victim on the floor, and a gal named Nina O'Keefe, a blonde woman was she dressed as a caterer?
Yeah, I believe she was catering that party, and that was
yes,
big,
that was the whole point, is that she was the chef Right. That plays into it. Yes. She is leaning over the body. We just see her, presumably with a knife, but we just see her moving a little bit, right?
Yeah. Basically, all we see is her kind of pulling it out, not really the going in. But Castle's convinced she did it.
Right. Yeah. Well, it sort of
looks like it.
It does. There she is with her hands on the body. And she turns to Castle and looks straight at him. So, boom. Okay, we've got our crime. Wow. All right, we're in it. So, we had we go right to the 12th precinct, really, because here come all the folks onto the crime scene. And now this is really interesting because Castle's in the position of being a witness. Right?
Yeah, and, like I said, it was kind of shocking to think back and see that this is really the first time, that he does it in court. Now, he had been the witness before when his friend, and they even brought that up, how that's not really how that played out. So how is, your judgment here? Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, we have really, really good information coming through the message boards from our fan, Teresa Stewart. She said the $15,000 that Castle got for the fee for the party was for charity. And that's a great point. Mm-hmm. I missed that entirely. So that changes everything. Yeah. So he that was very gracious. Yeah. Okay, so everybody is now on this case. Ryan and Espo are going to be on the case. Beckett is definitely hot on the case. And Castle has a lawyer who we call Weller. I like this guy.
Yeah,
he's cool.
He was on Veronica Mars. Like, I recognized him right away. I can't think of his name at the moment, but yeah, he's a really good actor. I usually see him either as a security guard or some sort of lawyer. Very suave.
Yeah,
guy.
I liked him too. He was really strong, and I felt like I wondered if he would. I had suspicions about him through the episode just because they were throwing suspicion around so much, but he seemed like he was a straight up guy. Even though he couldn't step in and rescue Castle because... All right, so we've got this blonde gal, Nina O'Keefe, on the stand. And when we start out the episode, I'm thinking, okay, she's guilty. Like, she did it. And somehow her lawyer is sick. And so in walks a person we've just heard Beckett mention. Mm-hmm. Has put under surveillance this guy, Caleb Brown, who's slick.
Yeah, and as we remember him from a few episodes ago before we went on the break, it's played by the show killer himself, Christopher Palapa. And so that's what worries me about Castle's future. But yeah, he was really good in this episode, though. Mm-hmm. And I think Beckett kind of, started to like him a little bit in a way.
Yeah, well, she had that great line at the end. And she had that great line. By the way, we've been so caught up in ourselves. Yeah. We've been so caught up in ourselves and the message boards that, guys, we forgot to mention who else is here with us today. Yeah. And that's the lovely Marissa. How you doing in that booth, Marissa?
Hi, lovely ladies.
I know. Hi. She says I'm a marshmallow. All right.
Marissa, you guys, happens to be from Illinois. There's more to her than you know. She has extremely soft conditioned hair because her sister is a stylist. And she's a world-class bowler. I'm not kidding.
Not really world-class, but thank you.
Well, she beats everybody in the studio here at AFTERBUZZ, so...
Just a little bit.
That's the little fact about Marissa.
Do you get better
back to Castle
bowling whenever you drink? Because I do.
No, I get worse.
Yeah.
I asked her that. It goes the other way around. Isn't that funny? Yeah. We'd like to know from our fans out there, by the way, does anyone get better when they drink, when they bowl, or is it the other way around? That's a great question for today. Okay, so Caleb Brown walks in, and I mean, it just like the courtroom freezes because Beckett and Vikram, who we get to see in this episode at the beginning, we know they have him under surveillance right now for the whole Locksat thing. So this is a very uncomfortable moment when he walks in the courtroom. Okay, so yes, and by the way, it was Joanna Masters. The Masters were the hosts of the party. Joanna, yeah, she's such a funny gal. Okay, well, I was very, very uncomfortable when Castle was on the witness stand and Caleb took him down. That was just really uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was so hard to watch. Poor Castle get skewered like that because, with the character like Richard Castle, he's just universally lovable. So you hate to see that, him be in pain because he really believes in justice. And, you know, in his mind, you know, what he saw, he's going with that. And I did like how, you know, when the pieces started to unfold, I mean, Castle, you know, called himself out. Well, I really didn't see everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he really attacked him on the memory thing. And,
that's painful.
It was painful too, because I was like, with Castle, I was like, yeah, that happened, but that was only for that time. Like, his memory is perfect otherwise. But boy, you can just see how lawyers really can trick you into kind of rearranging the facts. It's like, whew.
Well, yeah, and in this case, like, the lawyer actually did the right thing by having him re-examine what he saw. Like, he didn't really see her stab, you know. And to me, they really don't bring up the Castle memory loss a lot. So I was kind of glad that they remembered that, because that's one of those kind of unsolved, in a way, mysteries.
Yeah.
There's still too much of that we don't know.
Yeah, that was a whole season gone by, but yeah, that was a weird period. And it's cool how they bring the story back, and we're going to see that in the next episode too, that they are bringing in. Well, just so you have a little comfort too about your trip on the way here, we have a person in the message boards, Susanna, who we talk to often, who said, you should see the traffic in Sao Paulo. Oi, Oi, Brazil!
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, I've heard that other countries we don't even know. We think LA's the worst.
Yeah. Okay, so... Yeah, so he nails him on the stand. I mean, Castle's basically speechless. And then, did you notice that moment at the end when he looked over to the judge, and he was literally so dazed that the judge had to say, "Mr. Castle, like, you can get up now."
Yeah, he was just so shocked. And I did look up. Christopher B. Duncan is Marcus Weller. So yeah,
great.
That way we got an actor's name. I always like to mention that.
Great. Yes. Yeah, it is fun. It is good to mention the actors. It's really interesting, you know, to know a little bit more about the history of the episode. Okay, so, and on that note, actually, Christopher Palapa, I played a court reporter in a movie he did in 2014 called Atlas Shrugged, which many of you know is the famous Ayn Rand story. It was the third installment of the movie where he played the lead. And I got to interview him backstage.
Oh, cool.
So I'm going to put that interview on the front of my YouTube page today, if anyone's curious to check that out. But lovely guy, and like a seasoned actor. He's a neat guy.
Yeah, because I loved him on The Ringer. That's why I was like, I was so sad it was canceled, and that's been one of the jokes. And Nathan felt the same way for a while. Every show he was on was getting canceled. So it's kind of funny that they are now on this show that's done so well. Yeah. You know, after kind of being called show killers for years.
Oh. Yeah, you can see how it's really 6 degrees of separation in Hollywood. Like, so many people have worked together before. Okay, so now we got really... Oh, after the trial, by the way, and Beckett leaned over to Weller, the lawyer, and was like, can't you help him? And he's like, don't you think I would if I could?
Yeah.
Remember that moment?
Yeah, because he's just like, he's just having to sit there and watch that train wreck because, you know, it's not like he can object. He's not really doing anything.
Yes, yes. All right, so Ryan, Espo, Castle, and Beckett now, all four of them, they're back at the precinct, and they're kind of like, we're on this. We're on this. We've got a matter of hours now before the case reconvenes to try to figure out who really killed Sadie Beckman. So let's get on this. So that's a great premise. It's always great when it's under pressure like that. So they call in Nina's cellmate, which is fun. It's always fun, you know, lady prisoner is always fun.
Well, and I recognized her, Aline Lasmar, from the best new show of the summer, Unreal on Lifetime.
Is she on Unreal?
Yeah. Yes, like, I don't know if you watch it, but it's so good.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, cool. Oh, that's hot. And she was great. She was very believable as a woman prisoner. And she was like, she was playing them, you know, she was ready to rat a little bit. She wanted money in her commissary. Yeah. That's kind of like, it was very Orange is the New Black, right? But she says, hey, you guys might want to check out something about Nina's boyfriend. There was someone she was involved with, and if anyone knows anything about her, it would be him.
Yeah, and of course we kind of find out that was not really Nina's boyfriend per se.
Yes.
Nina likes girls and Sadie, which was an interesting twist.
That was totally a surprise, wasn't it? Were you guys all like, duh? Because
I love that Scooby-Doo. I was like,
so surveillance video from outside a bar, a night or two before, and out walks our victim, right? With Nina. Kind of a kiss and a shove. And then I wrote this down as one of the best lines of the episode. Castle's reaction, the victim and the killer were having an affair?
Yeah.
And then he's like, why did I say it so high?
Yeah, it was his very Scooby-Doo moment.
I bet you any money Nathan did that himself. Like,
yeah, a lot of Castle
improv.
is just pretty much him.
Yeah, that was just so Nathan. That was really cute. Okay. It was obvious that she wanted money, says Boo69Beast, one of our favorite fans. Yeah, I mean, if you're in jail and someone comes and asks you for information, that's one of the great things I know, because I haven't been in jail. Not yet.
Me neither.
Have you been in jail?
Yeah.
We should not be on this panel.
I know.
We need someone who's been in jail. Just kidding. But it's neat to learn from these shows something like your money in the commissary is like completely critical. It's like a bargaining chip, right?
Yeah, because you know you got to get your cigarettes to trade for everything else, right?
Yeah. It's totally the money. Okay, let's see here. Where are we at? Marcus Weller, again, who you mentioned, says that it was most likely a crime of passion. That was, his take on it. Is Marcus the boyfriend? Wait, now I'm mixed up. Who was Marcus?
Marcus is the lawyer.
Oh,
Yeah.
Marcus. Okay.
He's the prosecutor.
Oh,
I mean,
that
there's
Marcus.
plenty of lawyers.
Sorry, I just got way too many names in front of me at once.
I know, that's why I'm like, I always have to pull them up so I get everyone straight. Like,
all right. So as the team, as the 12th precinct starts to go over the case again, they realize that they got to go see this boyfriend, most likely. I mean, they're following the trail of Nina. And this is what made me suspect Marcus, because I've been calling him Mr. Weller, is that he really wanted them to step off at that point. Did you notice that? He was like, don't investigate this more. It was a crime of passion. And I was like, is he somehow tied into this?
Yeah, I mean, it was very much like his character in Veronica Mars. There was always something suspicious about him, and I think he plays that very well, which is great on a procedural when you're trying to figure out who it is. You're like, did he do it? Why does he want this? But then you're also like, he's a prosecutor. He just wants to win. Keep his numbers up.
Yeah, there is that. And that sort of turns out to be what it was, right?
Yeah.
Because he didn't seem to have his hands in anything bad. Okay, so then Castle's at this really cute scene. We get to see Alexis and Martha just kind of briefly in this episode, but they're so cute with their red hair. Oh my goodness.
I love the redheads.
I know, right?
It's like they do it so well. Like they're cute little family.
Yeah, and I love being in his house. His house is so cool. I'm always like, sometimes my husband will watch with me, and I'm like, look at his office. It's so sweet. So they are chatting with Castle about it, and Castle reveals to them that he has a new plan. And his plan is gonna to have himself get thrown in jail.
Yeah, I loved that. And then, of course, his way of doing it is to insult her university. Like, that was so funny.
Oh, my God. Yeah, so he walks in the judge's chambers, Judge Gloria, right? So I love that room, too. Some of the places they shoot in are so gorgeous, but it was so, like, these high ceilings and wood paneling, and it was very nice. Yeah, and at first she was like, Castle, I know that you are friends with the mayor, was it? And so, like, I'm going to let you go.
Yeah, because that's how he gets away with everything, and that friendship with the mayor.
God, he just pushed it. And it made me nervous, though, because I thought he was going to go too far. Did you have that feeling, too?
Yeah, I was like, are they going to throw him in jail too much, where everybody else kind of has to scramble, or does he get his plan?
Yeah. Well, conveniently, his plan worked out perfectly, right?
It's Castle, of course it does.
Yeah.
It either blows up in his face comically or works out.
He got to go in this holding cell, they called it, and he happened to be right by Nina, who was awaiting to go back to her trial.
Yeah, which is weird, because I don't think in real life that would actually work. I mean, even if they're separate cells, but on, TV, that's how we always see it. Men and women across from each other.
Yes. I know, I kind of felt that way, too. I was like, I'm not sure I'm buying that. By the way, the cop in the jail cell who came and manned the jail cell, who put Castle in the cell and then spoke with Nina about her trial, was a lovely gal who's a friend of mine, an actress, Nicola Lambo. Her name is Nicole Lambo. And she's an awesome chick. She's from Florida. And she had a really small part, you guys, but if you rewind it, and not only that, since we're on the 60s degrees of separation, she also was in the Atlas Shrugged movie I was in with Christopher Palapa.
Well, that's cool. And
playing a small role.
I know, all the 6 degrees. Claire Grant, who was Nina, is married to Seth Green, who most people know from Buffy, which is also a show that Nathan was on as well.
No way! She's married to Seth Green.
Yeah, and she's on the Guild with Felicia Day, who was in Nathan's greatest piece, I say, besides Castle, Dr. Horrible. Yeah.
Oh, wow! Oh my gosh, what a small world. I thought she was really neat for that role.
Yeah, I like Claire Grant. I think she's a pretty good actress.
Yeah, she was interesting. And she certainly really gained our sympathy, I think, in that jail scene. Didn't you feel?
Yeah, I thought, well, and especially with Castle too, he saw it as well. Like, she obviously cared about this person. She's not the killer. I mean, she was trying to save her. And he believes her story.
And I really did not believe her up until then.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I think right when she said, like, why would I kill her? Like, I loved her. I was like, okay, there's something more going on. And then that's where my mind started going. We never saw the knife go in. We really saw it kind of like
just
being jostled or something. So, it all kind of started to, in that point in Castle where the episode starts to resolve, I mean, you can think, is it going to resolve now? Is it going to resolve now? I feel like in that scene it started to resolve. Yeah. Did you feel that?
Yeah, and I always felt there's no way Nina could have really done it because, then there's no story there. Like, obviously it had to be Castle's journey to, hopefully open up and look into some of these times where he was, wrong. What we see is not always the whole story. So it really had like a really good message. But yeah, that's why I was like, of course we know she didn't do it as the viewer because that would be too easy.
Oh, excuse me. I'm on the message boards, you guys, and I started playing a YouTube video that was unrelated. That was called a little technical difficulty. Yes.
We have it here all the time, right?
I love watching the message boards because it's so interesting, you guys, to know who's out there. It'd be fun right now, guys. Give us a little shout out and let us know what country you're watching in because Castle's all around the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Nathan's
sweet.
loved by everyone.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Wasn't it fun that this episode was on Valentine's as well? And Stana, by the way.
Yes.
I mean, we give a lot of love to Nathan, but there's, Stana's really an interesting person. I've never met her. She seems a little more
reserved
than she is, but I do know she's highly intelligent. And
she speaks several languages.
She speaks several languages, and I believe one of them may be Russian.
Yes, yeah,
which we'll see a hint of in the next episode.
Yeah, the Russian episode.
Yep. We're about to get to that. Okay. All right. So now the case gets a little more complex. So we learn that there was somebody wanted Rodgers' DNA off a wine glass. So now the whole catering of the party comes into play. Nina, we know, was the caterer. And Sadie wanted Rodgers' DNA off a champagne glass. So Roger had been Sadie's cameraman, we find out, for years overseas. And they did that little film coming up here where they were actually like in a foreign, like in a war zone doing a news report. That was cool. I was like, ooh, this is gnarly and dangerous.
I know, and I just so thought that beetles were going to eat Roger at one point because Doug Watkins is also in The Mummy, and that's what happens to him. So I was like, come on, at least have beetles come out, throw something because he's in the desert. And I'm like,
are you serious?
So yeah, I'm like, oh, there was no beetles.
You're amazing to watch TV with because you're like the ultimate. You're like you're talking about an episode, but you have so many references. Like
I'm Lugal.
You're what?
Lugal.
What's that mean?
Lacretia is Google.
Lugal.
And also in Hot Tub Time Machine, Lou invents
Love
Google.
that movie.
Yeah. So he calls it Lugal, and so I call mine Lugal too.
Okay, you're Lugal. So I could look it up on Lugal.
Yes.
Or ask Lugal.
Lugal.
I love this, you guys. Is it good for all kinds of information or just like mostly television information?
I would keep it with television and hockey. You know,
Hockey?
other sports a little much, but yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's wild. Okay, I didn't know that you were a hockey fan. Now we've opened up a whole new dimension, Lacretia. Okay. So Rodgers' home. Sadie. Okay, so Castle, they go into the home, and we find out with Roger and his wife, it all kind of starts to unravel. So we find out Sadie actually got all this. There was like $500,000 or something in this duffel, and you can see them on tape saying, "Take the money." No, we're not going to take the money. We're not thieves. We're reporters. Okay, so this turns out to be the key to the whole case, and a safe that is upstairs, right?
Yes.
Yes.
There's always a safe full of something.
I know, there always is. It's very convenient when there's a safe. What did you think was going to be in the safe? Did you have any idea?
Yeah, I was like, it's not going to be money or anything. It's going to be something weird, especially knowing the two actors you have playing Joanna and Roger. I'm like, it's going to be something weird, at least. Yeah.
Well, she definitely turned on him pretty quickly. I don't know what was going on in their marriage, but they clearly were like, a bit at a loss. First of all, she thought, yeah, you definitely had an affair with Sadie. Like, I knew that all along, which didn't actually turn out to probably be the case. But
and what I love is like whenever they mentioned that they thought they were getting his DNA for being pregnant and that being his kid instead, and then of course she's like, oh no, he's sterile. Like, it was just so funny, the reaction between the two of them, which is another one of those One Life to Live references. Is Roger is played by Tuck Watkins, who played David Vickers, they're related because he was married to her much older aunt because he was a boy toy. Okay. And I didn't follow that at all, but I totally keep rolling it out. And so with his character, there was a brief period that another character, Kevin Buchanan, was sterile. And he kept, in the interrogation room when they were talking to him, kept saying shooting blanks like Kevin Buchanan. And I was just like, oh my God, why didn't they say that? Like, oh my God. And it's like one of, more of the iconic David Vickers moments. It was his character, was he's like, yeah, I'm just shooting blanks like Kevin Buchanan because he didn't really shoot somebody. That's so funny. I mean, probably the writers did it basically as sort of like a nod, wink for the actor. I wonder when the actor found that out, like at the script read and been like, what? Not again. He's like, no. Oh my God, that's funny. Okay, so now it's looking like Roger's the bad guy because we saw on tape that Sadie said, we're not taking the money. But then, no, that's not quite the situation either. So Sadie, the victim, and also the war reporter, ended up going back, apparently, after the tape, picking up the money and taking it. Yeah, after telling him no. Yes. That's what I thought, was like, that's crappy. I know. But he found out later, and because he had that tape, framed her. Yeah. Yeah, and said, if you give me a cut, then I won't show anyone this tape. Which would reveal the whole thing, which is a huge crime. So he basically had this hanging over this woman's head for, hadn't it happened 15 years prior? Yeah, it was like years. And of course, because his wife loves to spend his money, he needed more money. Yeah. She loves to spend the money. That was a funny comment too, wasn't it? Yes. I think it was just like, okay, there's clearly tension in this marriage. Okay, so there it is. There it is. Nina didn't kill Sadie. I know, like, final proof. I mean, we all knew it was coming, but I kind of hoped it was Joanna who was the killer, just because Cassie's so funny. Oh. And even on her Twitter, she was talking about how, everybody think I did it? Like, I wanted to be the killer. I'm glad she's not I didn't want her to be the killer because I almost want her to come back, like, as a super fan of Castle's or something like that. He has many. Yes. And then the whole bit with the basketball hoop, like where it was in accordance to the window, that was a bit tricky for me to follow. But I do love it when they notice details like that. Like, that was cool. Yeah, it really shows that they do have detective skills. They're not just pretty faces. Yeah. That's right, with really, really good hair. Stana Katic. I know, I wish I had that hair. And really amazing cat
shaped eyeliner. Does anyone notice that? They have that down on her. Okay, best moment of the episode. Well, one of the best moments of the episode is Castle and Beckett walking into the courtroom. Yeah. Stop the trial. It was like so dramatic.
Yeah, it was really dramatic, and then they're like, oh crap, what are we gonna say here? Like it was just so funny, like the look on both of their faces. Oh, it really is going on. What do we do?
Yeah, and what now? Or something.
Yeah, and Tracy D wants to know, would we take the money or leave it? I feel like that's a fun question before we go on to the courtroom scene.
I'm gonna give a really honest answer. I think in a war zone where you just knew if I don't take it, someone else is gonna take it, I would be tempted to take it or part of it.
Oh, I would so take all of it. Like I would have shot David Vickers. I mean, Roger right there, and been like, all right.
I mean, that's hard. Even if you did turn it into like the government, or the army, wouldn't you sort of be like, I mean, can I just pocket like 10 grand?
Bit, yeah.
Something. Like, does it make any difference? That's a really tough call. That's a tough call. Okay, well, what else we got?
Oh, this is funny. Anine Bol. I'm sorry, you have a really pretty Swedish name, I believe, that I can't pronounce, so I won't butcher it. But you said, what about the nose thing? It was so cute and so Castle, because we haven't brought that up.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, great. All right, so now we can also just review the idea that Castle and Beckett are continuing this secret relationship. And so the nose thing.
He's like, scratching my... I mean, he was just so big and broad with it. And she's like, how is that a signal?
So Beckett made it really clear, look, this case falls under my jurisdiction, so I will be in the courtroom. I will be following you as this case happens. And no one can say anything that we're together because I should be there. Okay, so that was the premise. So he says, well, let's come up with some kind of a secret thing that says I love you.
And just... out of all the things you could have thought of, no, it's
more like, she's like, are you okay? Yeah, that was adorable. I liked it. I thought it was a great episode.
Yes, I think it's really, it's come back much stronger. I thought the first half of the season with the Lockstat stuff and then being broken up for like no logical reason. Yeah. It's just so good to see these, first 3 episodes really be great and back to the, humor that is Castle.
Absolutely. And I was just looking at my notes here on how the episode really ended. And this was interesting. So back to the Lockstat stuff too. I agree with you. I feel like we're on a roll now. And I was kind of having a hard time getting with the whole program at the first part of the season. When Ryan and Espo were like, that Caleb Brown, he's kind of a stand-up guy. And Beckett has to kind of like bite her tongue. Yeah. But then she said something really super interesting. Is that, well, we were looking for she said, he really actually did want to do what was right in this situation.
Yeah, I mean,
by clearing Nina.
And I thought it made him more of a 3-dimensional character. Yes. And that's the thing, is he really was in it for justice. And so I think that even Beckett is kind of questioning, like, what is all this stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. She said we were, and also though, she uses it for her case's betterment. We were looking for his weakness. Mm-hmm. Helping someone out like Nina, and now we found it.
Well, and you saw the way he reacted to her when he thought, it's cops trying to evade justice again, creating their own. But then when he realized, when she kind of talked to him in a capacity that they were actually reopening Nina's case, he kind of saw like, maybe not all cops are bad, but I thought that was a very good comment that really may show that maybe he's had issues with cops in the past.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember that. And then he did listen to her. Like they really connected. All right, guys, that's episode 10, Witness the Prosecution. Now, from my memory, we have about 23 or 24 episodes in a season?
Yeah, I think, it's 22 to 24, I think, depending,
So we're nearing the halfway point of our season, which is fun because we have like a ton more episodes to come. Love the next episode. Episode 11, Dead Red. Do you love this episode?
Yeah, I loved the Russian. Like, he was so funny. Like, how much of a fan he was. He's like, Nikki Heat.
Oh, my gosh.
And that was not expected. I mean, even with Castle, it wasn't expected. You're like, oh, we think this guy's going to be like some grumpy Russian mobster. And he's so not.
This Vasily.
Yeah.
Okay, Vasily's character was so awesome. And there were about 4 times I'm like, okay, he is going to flip and be bad, isn't he? Like, he's not. like this whole him loving Castle and Beckett as a setup, and it wasn't.
No.
and I love that. And I have to look up that actor because that guy was fantastic.
All right,
right?
I'll get on it.
Would
Nick
you?
E. Tarabay, and he looks so familiar. Let's see what else he's been in. Oh, Star Trek Into Darkness, which
wow.
and how I know him is Arrow. He was Digger on Arrow.
Oh, okay, guys, and we of course are talking about the agent Vasily, who was assigned to be part of this case, who came into the 12th precinct and handcuffed Castle to the door of a car at one point. And he was so he was dimensional. Speaking of dimensional characters, because he had moments of like that. Well, you know, remember he was sitting with Castle, and Castle's like, you know, you're not what I expected. He's like, well, you expect me to be like this? He's like, that's the old Russia. And like, I'm the new Russia.
Yeah, it was just so
fun.
funny when he did that.
Yeah.
I was like, I was not expecting this, and neither was Castle, so I thought that was a really cute thing to make him so unstereotypical. Yeah.
Yes. Beautiful episode. I loved being in the consulate and all the buildings and kind of the Russian characters threaded all through this episode, made it really different and interesting. Okay, we open up on the crime, and this is like basically the nightmare hallway of my dreams, where like all the walls are dilapidated, the music's creepy, the air is misty, and I'm like, this is so gross and so creepy, and I know something's about to happen. It was like a horror movie opening.
Or just the alleys of Hollywood.
Yes. Or the same studio they use over and over again and dress it differently. All right, so we see this young man, Grigory Mishkin, perfectly normal-looking young man walking down the hallway, definitely looking for something, definitely aware that he's in a weird place, turns a corner, and boom, gets it pretty hardcore in the neck.
Yeah, pretty graphic.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Yep.
That's why, luckily, the next scene is baby shower.
Yes. Yes. Cut to literally. So we're back in that place we just said we love so much, which is Martha and Alexis. And Castle has gone out shopping for baby gifts for Ryan's new baby, which should mean, by the way, because Ryan is going to have a second child.
Yes.
Ryan and Jenny.
This is Jenny's second one.
And I felt like maybe we might have seen Jenny in that episode, but she didn't show up. I felt like, they're going to bring her back, but it'll be soon.
Yeah, I'm surely they'll bring Jenny back soon. I'm like, where's Haley? I mean, shouldn't she want to go baby clothes shopping with Castle and be involved in these cases? I'm like, where is Tokes got another job? I mean,
interesting. Right.
Yeah, she's on contract.
Some of the characters are really minimalized right now. That's a good point.
But yeah, the baby gifts. I think we have to go over how adorable the baby bulletproof
Kevlar
vest was. Just he's like, you know how hard it is to find waterproof Kevlar.
Waterproof Kevlar.
Yeah.
And they're like, luckily, Alexis put together this perfect baby shower gift. And I was like, I don't know what you guys were thinking. I was like, dang, there's like 6 gifts in that. I'm like, I don't show up to baby showers with quite well-wrapped gifts. I kind of felt guilty.
Well,
I was like, that's hardcore.
Yeah, I mean, Richard Castle is like, a millionaire novelist, so I guess he can afford it. I mean, and to help out his cop friends who don't make as much as him. But yeah, and then the baby, they're like, is that a baby lightsaber? Like, every little thing they like turned down that he had that was just incredibly inappropriate, but probably what my parents would have bought me.
That's
so I was
fun.
like, you wouldn't buy a baby a lightsaber?
I know.
Yeah, or
I know.
A
I didn't think it was so
vest.
bad.
I mean,
I know.
Yeah.
They just wanted him to be a little bit more traditional. But this was one of the best lines of the episode. Martha was talking. He was like, why didn't you stop me before I went out and got all this stuff? And she said, well, we just love to watch you. You know, you are our favorite reality show.
That's funny. I was just going to say the same thing because I actually wrote that down to remember it. I was like, that was the best line of the episode. You're our favorite reality show.
Like Castle.
Yeah.
We have to tweet that out.
Yes.
With a picture of Nathan. That was just so fun. Okay, so now we're at the crime scene. And first we just see Ryan and Beckett. And, another... okay, we're getting all kinds of messages, you guys. Oh, this is exciting. There's a lot of people watching right now. We're at the crime scene, and we've discovered our victim, Grigory, and we realize that we're going to be heading to the Russian consulate because he was the son of a diplomat. And I loved how they set up this idea that there's diplomatic immunity for these folks. Okay, you've got consulate people, you've got ambassadors and staff and their children, and they are all basically safe from U.S. law except for murder. And so they can go out and do what's called being a diplobrat.
Yeah, I love that they named it like diplobrat, because we need something. I mean, especially like because it's been so long really since people brought that up, like other than on procedurals, because I think of like Lethal Weapon 2 being like the last movie I remember really getting into this. It's not really talked about because we don't like to mention it here in America. It's like, yeah, that is sort of how it is. You can do whatever you want.
I think it's totally fascinating, and it is actually a true phenomenon. It is a true phenomenon with kids that are really spoiled, that are, you know, they have a lot of money, they're in the, you know, they're here or they're in other countries too, and they behave terribly.
Well, and it was
it's
just
like awesome story.
I know, I loved how it's like, oh, we're not the only country with douchebags. Like, like look at these kids. They're just as bad as the Kardashians and the Hiltons and whoever.
Oh my gosh, they did make these kids look really, really bad though. It's true. Okay, so they go to the consulate, and they meet the father of the victim, and I just felt so bad for him right then. At that point, and they also meet a man, which I didn't write down his title, but he was, I don't know if he was, the ambassador or like the consulate general, but the other man who was with the father, who was also clearly in charge of the Russian embassy. Did you catch that? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yes, I mean, and I think he
so
was
there's the two guys at the
Mm-hmm.
Russian embassy, and so they basically give Castle and Beckett a little bit of the cold shoulder, or Beckett, sorry, at this point, just Beckett, and they tell her, you know, we'd like to assign you to someone to work on this case, and immediately Beckett tries to backpedal out of that because she's like, don't want your person in my precinct, but they insist, and so that's how we get Vasily. How fun was that scene when he walked in the 12th precinct?
And Castle's like, you know, making Russian jokes, like the Boris and Natasha like accents, and he's like, oh my god, he's right behind me, isn't he? And he's like terrified on his face. And then of course he stares him down for a second and then hugs him. Yeah.
Richard Castle. Yeah, he totally loved him. Like, truly a big fan. Said he'd read his books on the long flight from Moscow to the U.S. Totally knew the whole deal. And then when he saw Beckett, he was absolutely freaking out as well, right?
He's like, Nikki Heat.
Nikki Heat. Yeah. Yeah, he was fun. He was so cute. He was very cute. Totally unexpected character. All right, so they start breaking it down, and the first person they're going to look at is another diplobrat who was a friend or an acquaintance, at least, of Grigory, the victim, this Jurgen Kass. Oh my gosh, he was such a douchebag.
Big time.
Oh my gosh. Was he Swedish? The country.
Yeah, he seemed like he would have been like,
does anyone out there remember?
Scandinavian.
It was a Scandinavian country, and I didn't quite catch it. Yeah, so he was a jerk and a half, right? So he got called into the precinct and basically let them know, like, I'm not talking. I don't have to. I got diplomatic immunity, and I'm bad. Like, he was so over the top. And he did, though, finally spill the beans when Vasily and Castle saw him at a cafe. And Vasily's like, we're going to go about this another way. And he gave him the old, like, I'm Russian and we're watching you now, like the little threat. And I loved it when he turned that on because it was really scary, Vasily.
Yeah, it was really funny to see him do that quick change. Really, you know, showed how good of an actor that Nick is. And it was like, that was really funny. And then he's terrified, this little douchebag. I mean,
he was totally scared. Scared enough that he revealed, look. Okay, yes, I was there. But here's what happened. Grigory wanted the manual for, I think it was a Jeep Cherokee, a car manual. So I was I was bringing him that. That's what he was really, I think he was looking, maybe he was looking into something. And then they go, the mother.
No.
The mom had just been killed. I mean, that was what we had learned in the embassy in the beginning is, poor Grigory was just not the same since his mother had been killed.
Yeah, in this car accident.
Right. Okay, so now the case starts to deepen for sure. Ryan and Espo, this was cool, doing the Skype interview with the owner of the hotel as an interview. Was that cool? Rather than
Then be face to face. Yeah, it was kind of odd, and it really is showing how we're changing as a more technologically advanced society. It's like, see, you don't even have to go in to be interrogated anymore. They can do that all by Skype.
Isn't that interesting? Like, they don't have to bring you in. I wonder what the policy is, even, say, the LAPD. I wonder if they actually can legally do a witness interview over the internet. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have we seen that on the show yet?
I don't think so. I think this was the first time we really saw. I mean,
I don't recall it. Yeah. So the hotel owner though says, "Yeah, I can help you out." So actually, that man's mom was here. Anya, I think her name is. Is that right? The blonde, yes. Anya. And she checked in with this man, presumably like a boyfriend. And can you tell us who the man was? Not only that, boom, here's this picture from the surveillance footage. That was huge. Yeah. It was a huge step. These cameras really come in. These surveillance cameras really play into the story, don't they?
Well, yeah, and it's just like, if you've ever been to Las Vegas recently, and how when that person ran all those people down on the strip, they're like, several people I know that work in casinos and stuff say that don't even pick your nose when something like that happens, like, because they have 4K cameras all over the Vegas Strip, and I'm sure places like LA and New York is the same way. We just don't really think about it. It's because they can see every little detail now because these cameras have gotten so good. And they go back and look over these things, and as long as that radius is really covered, I mean, you're not getting away with anything anymore.
Wow. I know London is the first place I have known of that it was that way, but they've been like hyper cameras everywhere for years now. Interesting. Okay, so Emily Hopper is this girlfriend, like kind of nerdy girl who I guess presumably liked Gregory and had hooked up with him. And they brought her into the precinct to interview her, hoping she'd have some information. And she did. She kind of revealed that I work for this company that stores data for like government organizations and big companies. And we're like, yeah. And that she had presumably slept with Gregory, fell asleep, and when she woke up, he was getting info off her computer. So now I guess the 12th precinct folks, our team, is going, okay, he was looking into something. He was probably looking into something about his mom's murder.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, of course, they're probably thinking, way deeper than his mother's murder. I think felt like at first that they're thinking, oh, he's a spy, this or that. And then, it's like, no, he's really just checking into his mom's death.
I think you're right, especially when we found out that that girl he hooked up with had government agency stuff. Yeah, then you started to think, wait, was he working for Russia undercover as a spy? Yeah, it was very like, what? This is getting more complicated. Okay. So the guy in the photo, by the way, in that surveillance photo, was a guy that they identify as a silver-haired guy, but Frank Thomas, a.k.a. actually a Russian spy in hiding.
Yes. Well, and that was a very interesting plot point that, while we find out didn't have as much to do with the death per se, but we bring in a character we've seen before that Castle hasn't met, his stepmother, played by Ann Cusack.
So amazing to have her there. Yeah, wasn't that interesting? Rita, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that her name? That was so, first of all, I really like that character. I like that actress. I just, she seems really smart.
Yeah, all the Cusacks are pretty good.
Yeah, right? She doesn't even have to be like super button up like Stana can be. She just she's like has a scarf around her neck and she just like owns it. She's like
she's
extremely knowledgeable. Yeah. But surprised to Castle that was his stepmom.
Yeah.
He was like, what? Because it's a link to his father.
Yeah, and it's too bad that James Rowland obviously has another show that's so successful right now, Life in Pieces, so we couldn't see him. But I thought that introducing his stepmother, without his father was really a good move for the show, especially with the cast permitting.
Okay, so for sure. So around this time, Beckett tells Castle, we really need to get Vasily away from the case right now because he's kind of like all up in it. And there was just a lot of points where they didn't know if they could trust him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Didn't you feel that? And so she said, like, time to get him out and do some touristy things. So that's when he and Castle, I guess this has already happened. Actually, we're ahead of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've already done that. Okay. All right. Well, we didn't talk about, though, was that Nathan and Vasily's little outing turns bad, and Vasily handcuffs him to the door and then grabs Frank Thomas and sticks him in the trunk.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny because it was just like really a turn to his character. It's like, no, he still is this crazy, Russian guy.
Yeah.
Like, but he's fun.
Yeah, but he's fun.
It was almost like the Russian version of Slaughter. Like, fun stuff's gonna happen.
And then he said, I wrote down this line because he just delivered it really funny. I'm sorry, but our carriage ride around the park will have to wait. That was funny. All right, so then they got Frank tied up in this warehouse, and Vasily's going to interrogate him. He's like, I'm on this case now. I'm breaking this down. Basically, you can't keep me from working this case. And this scene scared me. I really didn't know how bad Vasily's character was going to be, if he was going to like torture the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know.
Yeah, it's like, where's he going to draw this line?
Yeah, it was a little scary. So he does agree to give Castle 60 seconds to solve the case, which was awesome, like, right?
Yeah, you got 60 seconds.
And Castle starts piecing together, what's on his phone, the last thing on his map, the last thing he purchased, and realizes you were trying to buy fake IDs for someone to work at a catering service at a party. Ding, ding, ding. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. You were trying to get someone into work as a caterer at the Russian embassy party. So there's some kind of thing, which happens to be going on right away. Yeah. Do you notice that?
Of course, it always is. So I can get quick.
Yes. All right. So I love this. One of the best lines of the episode. They're on the steps of the Russian consulate, and Vasily's like, I can't get you guys in. Oh, it's everybody. Espo, Beckett, Ryan, Castle. I can't get you guys in. How are we going to do this? Like, they don't want you in there. And Castle turns to him and says, come on, man, you can get us in. We'll be your +4.
Yeah. Oh, Castle and his just glass half full way of life.
You're +4.
Yeah.
That was cute. All right. Well, you want to take the action from here in the Russian embassy party?
Sure. To me, it's like the Russian embassy party was kind of like the low point of the episode, in my opinion. I mean, it was just sort of a wrapping up, and I know we forgot to mention this earlier, so I'll throw it in now. The fake phone call, how they got to be working together, was so romantic, Yeah.
Okay, the mutual phone call. Yes.
Yeah, we had a few comments. I was like, we better mention that now. Because, when they're like fake phone calling each other to somebody else, telling them that it's okay that they work together or whatever.
Yes. I was like, what is the likelihood that conversation's going on at the same time? That was funny. Yeah.
Yes, because it was just so obvious.
It was pretty obvious.
But everyone else is just clueless, poor Ryan and Esposito.
That was totally cute. But, all right, so you weren't crazy about that scene.
Well, yeah, to me it was just sort of like, I loved that, Stana was able to use, her skills outside of Castle and be able to speak Russian. That was, some of the good parts. But yeah, I was just like, it was sort of like lackluster, because of the, rest of the episode was just, you had a stepmother, you had so much going on. I was like, the big reveal at the party and everything was,
Well, I liked it that she, my microphone's turned around, guys. I got microphone problems. I keep touching it, that's why. Thanks, Marissa. Yeah. I kind of liked it. Well, I liked that Beckett jumped on that guy and saved him. I mean, that was cool. Yeah. That really, made me happy. And then looks over, though, and the dad's bleeding. I was like, now.
No, he's dead.
I didn't really hear the follow-up. Did the father die, Sergei?
I don't
think shot.
I don't remember if they ever explained it.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, is to me this scene was just very quick with all that happened. And that was my thing, is I'm like, I had to rewind it a few times just to sort of see what was going on. I'm like, okay, so he got shot, but I don't think there was ever any resolution if he was dead or not dead.
Yes. Well, one person for sure we find out is not dead is Gregory's mother, Anya, this whole time. That I loved. I loved that. That was really interesting. So they're going to pull her into the precinct, and I did love from this part on, because it was so interesting that she was a secret agent. She wasn't really dead. The father, the guy who got shot the whole time, was the guy who was selling secrets. And she knew, he's so powerful, he's so hooked up. If I tell on him, I'm going to wind up in trial.
Yeah, and that
Made
was
sense.
her plot to kill him. Yeah.
Yeah. But and then he actually killed, well, we find out wasn't his blood son, but his stepson. Actually killed his stepson.
Yeah, so that was sort of how it all kind of wrapped up. It was a family of, I guess it was the Americans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and I don't think we've even mentioned the scene between Vasily and Rita.
Yeah.
When they got to see each other, they're like, "Oh, good to see you again. How are you?" Yeah, that was a great scene. It was cute. But it was neat how we had that little scene in the coffee room with Castle and Rita. That was really neat, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was, to me, one of the better scenes in the episode. Despite all the really funny scenes, this was a really good, sort of like an emotional moment of Castle meeting his stepmother for the first time that's been working with Beckett. And then, to me, this was one of the few times that Castle, knowing that Beckett lied about this, he wasn't mad or anything like he had been in, the previous, part of the season. This point, he was just like, okay. I get it.
He wasn't mad at what? Sorry.
He wasn't mad at Beckett for keeping that from him.
Oh, yes.
And that's something that was a little new from, as we saw the other half of the season. He just seemed to sort of accept this a little more. So it's, their relationship is sort of back to where it was.
Right.
Pre-Lockstat.
Right. I thought her... Castle was so deeply touched at wanting to have contact with his dad. And when she gave him a hug and whispered, "He's so very proud of you," because
it was so sweet.
It was so interesting because she said, "No, he doesn't talk about you," and I was like, but then she whispers, "Is that like someone might hear it?"
Well, yeah, because I think that's the thing is it's still really on the down low that he is Castle's father. So I think that's part of it is they can't really talk about him, but I think there is some sort of relationship there where they do talk about it behind closed doors, or our feelings you get.
Right. It just made him so happy. You could just see that he was so gratified to know that my dad, he thinks of me and he's proud of me and he's watching me.
Every guy wants that, right?
That was so sweet.
And Tracy D cleared it up for us that our of course killer was saved and went back to Moscow.
Yeah. However, yes, which was not very great, except for Vasily made the point of pointing out that he was going to the coldest part of Russia, and it's like Russian justice, so things aren't going to be that great for him.
I love the Russian justice because we always think about people going back, that have this diplomatic immunity, and we're like, but maybe they're getting a different comeuppance.
Right. Yeah, which seems about fair. Wow. 2 great episodes back to back, you guys. Is there anything else you want to add?
I think several people have mentioned this line, like Tracy D, Ananine, when Castle says to Rita, at the end of the day, she's worth it. I think that was pretty much all I wanted to add, was that line was just so poignant to their relationship and where it is right now.
Yeah, with Beckett.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. At the end of the day, she's worth it. Right. Yeah, that is sweet. Yeah, we're content. We're happy. We're ready for some more fun episodes. You guys, thank you so much for joining Lacretia and I. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, thanks for contributing on the chat boards. Please give us a thumbs up. That's how we know that you're watching, and that's what helps keep this Castle After Show a popular after show on AfterBuzz TV. And not to mention, it helps to keep it free. If you're listening on SoundCloud or iTunes, please give us a thumbs up. We appreciate your thumbs up. And tune in next week, Tuesday, 4 p.m. Can I get my days right? Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for another episode 12.
I know, and it's just going to feel so down to only have one after this week's 2.
I know, it's going to seem really light. I know, it's true. Hey, you're a fun gal. Tell the people where they can find you.
Well, of course, if you can spell my name right, I know I struggle myself. It's Lacretialyon. Just put the @ symbol in front of it and you'll find me anywhere.
That's right. She's a fun gal. Yeah. Follow her online. And I'm J2 Snyder on Twitter and Instagram. And check out my YouTube page, JJ Snyder. I'm going to put that interview with Christopher Palapa front and center. We love you guys. Thank you for joining us and watching Castle. See you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.